hardy succulents like hens and chickens and different varieties of cactus have always been popular garden plants. Today I am joined by Kim Daft at Lawrence and Clark Cacti Co. And we're going to talk just a little bit about some hardy succulent options for your garden.
Yes, so everything that is set up in these pots on the table is a variety of cold hardy cactus and succulents. So this first one that we're looking at right here, this is a Choya cactus. This is a more narrow form. The needles are not friendly, so we try very hard to avoid them. But this specimen, since it's cold hardy, that just means we can leave it outside, whether it's in a pot or it's in the ground. It's going to survive the cold temperatures here. And what actually happens, this in particular has been outdoors here all winter. As it gets colder, they get this beautiful purple tint to help protect themselves from those cold temperatures. It's a form of stressing that creates that coloring.
Right.
But as it warms back up, they're going to transition back to sort of a bright green, which are the traditional cactus colors you expect to see.
Right.
But it's beautiful because those little purple bits add a little pop of color to the garden in the wintertime.
In the wintertime.
Yes.
The other thing that you'll notice sometimes on these is that they get a little bit droopy in the winter.
Yes, the Choya cactus in particular will oftentimes it droops a little, it might pucker a little, but come spring they perk right back up beautifully.
Yeah, and that's partly because their root system has also gone dormant.
Yes.
And it's not drawing water, and it's just a safety mechanism, basically.
Correct. And you may also notice this cutting is a little bit larger. So if you look, if you follow the stalk down from the very top, it goes from green to this brown coloring here. That's called corking, and that is just where the stem develops more of a woody exterior.
Right.
It creates more of a branch structure to help support the plant as it grows. So we often get a lot of questions about the brown on the bottom of a cactus. People worry it's sick, but it's really just doing its job.
It's really developing a trunk to support it.
Precisely.
And so how big will this get if you just plant it out in your landscape and it's happy?
The narrow variety typically grows to about 4 to 5 feet. It'll almost get bushy looking as it matures.
They'll branch. And
exactly. If you want to keep it more tapered and trunk-like, you can certainly cut it back. I do myself, and you can take the clippings and put them directly in the soil. They'll root up easily. A fallen branch can develop roots from the very side of it and take root where it lands, really. Very, very easy to propagate.
Which is actually how they move around in the wild. They attach themselves to fur and skin of animals. And get dropped off somewhere else and then root right where they fall.
Yes, correct.
And that might be something to mention about this too. The Choya and the prickly pear that we'll talk about in a minute, they are spiny, and some of the Choyas in particular, if you touch those spines, the stem will actually break off and come with you. Yes,
sometimes called a jumping Choya or a jumping cactus. They're incredibly unfun to run into. Oftentimes, not all Choya have it, but some will even have little hooks at the end of the spine to latch onto whatever is passing by.
So if you have young children, grandchildren, whatever, this might be something you want to keep away from.
I always say with cactus, layer them towards the back of the garden.
And this is but one example of a huge family of plants.
Yeah, so Opuntia has tons of varieties. There's spineless, there's ones with different colored blooms. They will all have beautiful flowers, and they all have a wonderful fruit that comes off of them. A lot of times you'll see like prickly pear cocktails or drinks. That is coming from the fruit that comes off of this plant. A lot of people don't know they'll have these growing wild in their yard, and they don't realize that they can go pull those pears and make things with them or eat them. Or you can take the seeds, spread them out, and have a whole bunch more. But honestly, seed is a very uncommon form of propagation with this cactus. Most people will just take cuttings, a pad. You can take a pad, throw it directly in the ground. It will take root and grow into a big, beautiful cactus really relatively quickly.
Yeah. All right, now, my grandmother always had hens and chickens and raised planters in pots, and they're tough as nails. I mean, I'm a Kansas boy originally, and they would live through the winter in a pot in Kansas in Zone 5. So down here we can do that as well.
Absolutely. So everything that you see on this table, I have these same exact plants in hen and chick pots and in containers like this on my porch. and I never touch them.
Right.
The rain takes care of them, the sun takes care of them, and they thrive. This one, you see how it's got the beautiful purple? She's been out in the cold for the winter.
Right.
She's going to turn a little bit more green in the spring and summer, and that purple's going to come back again next winter. But they all will come through really, really wonderfully through the cold temperatures. That's the best part about them, I think, because you can, if you layer in rocks around them, especially in your landscape, other than occasionally pulling a weed, you can set them out there and forget about them largely.
Right. And then in this little pot, we have another hen and chicken that has kind of a cobwebby surface. And then we have 2 sedums that have joined it.
Yeah, we have a variegated sedum here and then a golden over here. And these will spill over slightly. Some sedums will trail more than others, but these also do really well in the cold temperatures. And they can add, you know, more of that arrangement look that we like to get when we're putting together planters.
And great for containers, but all of these could also be grown in the ground. I have a question for you, though, about our Tennessee clay.
Okay.
What do we need to do as far as soil preparation to have cactus and succulents that will thrive?
I highly recommend adding lime. So you can get limestone by the scoop, you can get it by the bag.
Right.
The lime itself really helps the cactus, but it also adds the drainage. I would recommend adding lime as well as a good soil conditioner to the soil to amend that clay. That clay retains so much moisture. And
especially in the winter.
Very much so,
and
unfortunately.
Cold and wet is the combination that will kill a succulent or a cactus every single time.
Correct. So if you can at least take the top 12 inches of the soil as you're putting cactus in the ground and succulents and stuff, if you can amend that, add the limestone, add the soil conditioner, that will do so much to help your plants really thrive.
And you're actually talking about limestone gravel, not just
correct.
Not just crushed lime. You can use crushed lime too to help raise your pH a little bit.
Correct.
But you're talking about limestone gravel for drainage.
You got it. Limestone, and the limestone gravel does both. It both releases the lime and helps with drainage.
And helps with that drainage.
Yeah. So it's kind of a 2-in-1, and you can get a big scoop of it real cheap. So I recommend that a lot.
Thank you so much for the tips on growing hardy cactus and succulents outdoors.
Well, thank you so much for coming out.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.